I'm in my
Yes.
chair.
Oh, for some reason I thought I had a decline from you today.
No, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Sitting
you for
in my
the
apron.
eggplant recipe.
Oh yeah.
I
hope you like
love
it.
eggplant.
Mhm.
And just by the look of it, I kind of had an idea of how to make it, but it's always good to have a recipe.
It was so good. I'm gonna make it again because we have an abundance of eggplant.
So what else did you just have that on top of some grain or like rice or something, or what did you pair it with?
No, actually, I paired it with stuffed zucchini that I had stuffed with rice and hot peppers and a bunch of other things.
Well, that sounds good. So both were baked in the oven.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Excuse me while I take my apron off. My bib.
So Mary, you feeling better? Mary was feeling a little rough yesterday.
Yeah.
I just woke up.
Oh wow.
Well, I just woke up because I got up at 4 because I'm just not sleeping, and I intended to get up for a couple of minutes, maybe take a walk and get back in bed, and never got there. So when Kate and I finished, we had writing this morning, and I what else did I do this morning? Went grocery shopping, made some applesauce, and
took a nap.
We worked out for a short time and caught up like a little tiny bit, and then she had to run and I had to run, and so I slept for like 20 minutes. But I just woke up.
That's barely a nap. Come on, Mary.
That's not a nap. That's more like the idea of a nap. That's more like an idea of a nap.
I know, 20 minutes.
Well, it's 2:00. Yeah. So maybe 30 minutes. But anyway.
Now I want one too.
But I am feeling a little bit better. I can't quite get my sleeping is hard, and it's particularly hard. Kate said that she didn't sleep very well during her time away, but first was probably because of the altitude. I don't think the altitude where I was that high, but
right. Well, that's just a long trip from the East Coast to the West Coast, so
it is, and it was on United Airlines, and I will never fly United Airlines. I mean, I cannot say enough bad things about them. It was just horrendous. But
wow,
I am feeling better. That was a long answer to say yes. Thank you for asking. Hi, Ross.
Yeah, we got Rosaline back.
Rosaline in the house. Ross is in the house. Hey, dude.
Howard, I haven't talked to you since.
Back to reality.
I know, for like weeks and months. Back to reality, back to fucking 3 days of laundry and, all that.
It was all rainbows and beachside cottages and
no, it's
antique photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Like weeks of that, and then
shit straight back into
how do you want?
Straight back into depressed son and annoying husband and sweet daughter, at least. But yeah, it's all
household chores.
Yeah, he's fine. He's he says he's still a bit tired and run down, but that would kind of be normal anyway, I think, really. But he's mended, really. He's got a few more days of work, and I think then his contract ends, so I think he's happy to have some time off to kind of rest and recuperate. But
the last time I saw you, you were still at your parents', and he had just come down with COVID.
Yeah,
that was like the very beginning of our Ireland trip. Yeah,
it was about a week into it. On his home. I think I heard him coming in. Yeah, I was there about a week, I think. So it was right at the very beginning. Yeah,
Mhm,
3 weeks
mhm.
ago or so. So yeah, but it's just takes a little while to get used to. He's just Neil's just wandered in. Hi, loving kindness. So I'll I go to the bedroom if you're heating your food. He's heating up his dinner.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So how's everybody else been?
Well, Mary just got back as well from the East Coast, so we heard a little bit about that.
Yeah. What were you doing, Mary? Were you visiting family or were you?
I was taking care of my dad while my stepmother was away. And 3 of my 5 siblings, or I have 4, there are 5 of us. 3 of us were all together.
Nice.
4 of us were all together. I'm sorry.
It's okay. One was missing.
That's what happens when you have more than 3 kids in a family. You just
Yeah.
can't keep track of them.
Yes. I spent 3 days at my sister's in Virginia that was beyond heavenly. And then I got to see my dad, whom I have not seen since he had a stroke day after Christmas of 2019. So yeah, it was really nice being with him, really hard to say goodbye. And 2 of my brothers one of them is Beryl, the other one is a delight. The other one, I wouldn't mind if his plane decided to go in a different direction and stay there. No.
Oh, family.
Family drama, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
But,
Fun times.
How
that
are
was
you
it
both
for
doing?
longer than I think I've ever been there. Never been with my dad without my stepmother, which is always any degree of shit show. And so yeah, that was really lovely. It was, I think that's part of why I'm so exhausted. I mean, I got my dad to eat 3 meals a day, which he has, I mean, he weighs about 115.
Wow.
And there's like nothing there. But,
what age is he?
he just turned 92. Well,
right.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Astrid, how's your mom?
I think she's okay with her new normal. She just had another round of chemo and it ended up spending the better part of a week in hospital.
Oh no.
And so yeah, so it's they just keep finding it sounds like a really tentative sort of balance between the cancer, her kidneys, and her heart. So I'm sort of expecting, I mean, the cancer seems to be the most stable and it's actually been going back with chemo, but it seems like every time it affects her kidneys and then that has implications for her heart. And
yeah.
so yeah, so she's in this, when she's stable, she's fine. And she's got, she's happy with her home health aid situation. And when it gets out of whack, she's immediately back in hospital.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it goes.
But she's still able to get up into her apartment, I guess.
Yeah.
If she was
Yeah,
released.
so that's a funny thing. Like she's released and then she just marches up her 4 flights of stairs.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness.
Yeah, when she describes her state, like when things go haywire, it's really more like a full body fatigue. That like her blood pressure plummets, she needs to just stay in bed. And so my theory is that one morning she's just not going to wake up.
Yeah.
Her heart just gives out.
The
But yeah,
balance between those, I mean, I can only speak to my experience, but the balance between chemo and your own body dealing with that and the cancer is one thing. And then the fallout from all of that. I mean, I was in heart failure from one of the chemos that I had, and I will for the rest of my life have to be on a heart medicine. But one of the medicines they put me on to counteract that, I couldn't get off the couch. I mean, I literally, I would try to get off the couch, and I was so exhausted by taking 2 steps that I would get back on. I mean, I couldn't even get up. And that's just from lisinopril, which is something that people take all the time, and it's like nothing. And so hopefully they'll be able to find, I mean, the good news in that, it sounds like, is that the cancer is being addressed and is responding.
Yeah, so it's not getting bigger, and it seems to be shrinking according to her own sensation. And I think I haven't talked to her since she had a big scan done, so I'll find out what the scene is. Yeah, so so she's oddly, and I think I've shared this before, like she's oddly in a good space about it, because it actually explains a lot of what she's been experiencing over the last few years, right? So that knowledge is actually really helpful to her. Yeah.
And Rosaline, how about your mom? Did her shoulder become unfrozen?
No, she had one steroid injection, and that left her a bit gaga for a couple of days, but it meant she would rest. But no, it's still quite painful, but I think she's getting physiotherapy and it's less painful. So I think it's in itself, it's actually another kind of good wake-up call for them.
Step in the right direction. Yeah, you were getting them organized to sell the place, right? Put the place on the market.
I didn't even skim the surface. I mean,
really?
I was thinking of all the conversations Astrid was, telling us during her mother's, well, you're decluttering. I didn't even, that's only one part of their many things that they need to go through. And so
you mean the place above the shop?
Oh, not even that. I
not even that.
I couldn't even get to there.
Rosaline,
it took me about a week. It took me about a week to get through the utility room, and they're in their own house a lot.
Yeah.
And then it's their own house. I removed about like 3 bags of scarves alone, like bin bag size, like like I got rid of maybe 20 pairs of white jeans, maybe 15 pairs of red jeans, maybe 10 green ones. Like she's a woman. And not to mention then, like, how many mini discs, Laurel, do you think my dad has? Maybe 1,000. Just, oh, Jesus. And I mean, like everything you can possibly think of, like dogs' outfits, like novelty dog outfits. There's like a box of them. It's like, every time I left the house with a big bag to put in the clothes bank. And I left the house like twice a day, driving in and out to the town. And each time, and it didn't even touch the surface, like nobody.
But you were saying that like clothes donation and stuff isn't as popular, right?
No, it's not as popular, and a lot of them are closed because they're inundated. I don't know if you guys have found the same, but like all of the Goodwill type shops here, I've just been overwhelmed with like book donations, because obviously people have taken lockdown to either A, read a lot of books, or B, get rid of it, read a lot of them, and then get rid of them, because they've all got signs up saying no more book donations, we're going crazy, and DVDs, because everybody's converted to Netflix, so it's just like DVDs are just like
out the wazoo,
leaving houses in droves.
Our local Goodwill in Arlington, it tried to solve that problem by just opening, like it had a limited number of hours that it was open to accept donations, and it had a maximum donation per car. And people would be like lining up in their cars outside the Goodwill before it even opened, so that you could get a spot in line to drop your shit off.
Wow.
It's just like nuts.
I'm telling you, I was so happy in Germany for that, for those 2 women who came, trudged all the way up to the attic and took about 500 books.
Yeah.
Really?
Because I could not, there was no place that would accept book donations.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it's a difficulty. And I think if anything, it shows you know, shows up our overconsumption, because if you think this is kind of like probably every house in, you know, the northern
Everywhere.
hemisphere, you know, we could just take layers off the stuff we own and you wouldn't even notice that,
Right.
you know, it's gone. Are you
Well,
closing
now
it
people
here?
are living in it for the last 16
Yeah.
months, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know I had 14 of those. Don't need to order another one. Yeah. 14 pairs of red jeans.
Yeah, but it was good, and we had lots of conversations about whether, you know, was it realistic to think that I would take over the shop, and you know, quite genuine kind of conversations about that, and so that was good to kind of bed that down and to see that that was not a realistic option, but that I would try, especially if a sale gets delayed, that I would come over next year and spend considerable amount of time with them. So that, you know, it felt really good because I felt like I was being helpful and useful.
Yeah,
for the first time
yeah.
in
Those are big
years.
decisions for your folks.
Yeah, they are. But I think COVID, in a way, working so hard and remaining open over the last, you know, year and a half, kind of spearheaded. It just has exhausted them beyond any kind of human level of kind of strength. Like they, for the first time in my life, like I saw my dad sitting down, and like we went to the beach and he brought a beach chair with him, which we've never seen in our lives, and kind of sat on the chair while we went in swimming. And, you know, he went in swimming one day, but it was just a slowing down. I mean, he's only 75, but it was like, yeah, they can't do this for 5 more years for sure. They can't even do it for 3 more years. So, yeah. How about you, Laurel? Your parents were, well, your dad in particular was.
Yeah, I don't have any real like new update on my folks. Yeah, kind of just status quo. My dad's depressed and wants to be living his old life, and you know, my mom's getting older and is pretty socially connected and, you know, doing okay in their new, you know, it's not even new at this point, but just it really makes you realize that your approach to growing old and kind of how you plan for it. My parents have always been planners, like financially, they've always been so good at that, but like really envisioning and coming to agreement on how they want, what is realistic for them. I mean, my dad is still, he's about to buy a new car, and he's talking about buying a car that has a trailer hitch and all of this stuff for this speedboat that he hasn't turned on for 2 years. But, you know, he's like planning his whole vehicle purchase around that speedboat. And it drives my sister crazy. I'm just kind of like, I mean, what can I do? I can't.
No,
they know,
it's like my mom's, you know, boxes full of wool that apparently she intends to knit into.
Except about $40,000 more expensive, but you know.
She has a pretty nice yarn, but yes, not $40,000 worth.
Yeah, but I guess if we don't have goals or aspirations throughout our lives, then, you know, that's kind of.
Well, did I tell you about the water skiing?
That's what keeps us going, right?
The water skiing?
Yeah. Wait, so my dad has always been like, every year he is working out the entire year, doing squats and like body strengthening so that he can get up on water skis. And he's 85 now. And so last summer and this summer, he couldn't get his boat in the water for a range of complex reasons that are to some degree of his own making, but you kind of feel for him that he hasn't been able to solve them. So he did research on where you could go to a water skiing place where there's like the tow ropes over a big lake or something. And it's mostly where kids learn to ski, or it has like ramps and stuff. And he got obsessed with going to the one that he decided, and this is like my classic dad, like, once he decides what the best is, like nothing will settle. So the best is outside of Orlando, Florida, which is like a 14-hour drive from my folks' house. So my dad, like two weekends ago, says, I called and my mom said, well, your dad's packing up the car to go to Florida. And I said, to go to the water ski place? And she was like, wait, you've heard about this? I'm like, Mom, it's all he's talked about for like weeks now. And she's like, I swear I never even heard him talk about it. I was like, oh God, this like tells you what your relationship's like.
Right,
That, like
yeah.
exactly. So he gets in the car, starts driving down. He's like texting me the whole way of like, here's where I'm at and bad traffic here. And I'm sleeping in a rest area and all this stuff. Because of course he's not going to get a hotel room, right? So he's like sleeping in his car, arrives down there, checks out the place. The following morning, goes water skiing, behind a tow rope. And then, that was that. And then he drove back.
Really? That was it?
Wow.
Wow.
And it wasn't as, he'll never do it again. It was not as great as he thought it would be in his imagination, but he did prove to himself that he can get up on water skis at this age. And he met my dad's a very extroverted social guy. So he met, 5 people that he loved, one of them from St. Louis and blah, blah, blah. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
so
2 weeks
an
ago.
entire waste of time.
Yeah. And then, so of course we didn't tell my sister, who would like flipped her lid. And then she did flip her lid at me saying like, did you know Dad, drove all the way to Florida by himself, went water skiing and drove back.
Yeah.
I was like, how are we going to stop him?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, we have a friend, Lucy, was shouting and screaming at her dad a week or 2 before he died, saying that car will be the death of you. And it was he was an old Bugatti kind of fan.
It was a Bugatti, yeah.
And it was a car accident, but like that's the way
it was the death of him. He drove the car off a road and died in a car accident.
Yeah, but he was, what age was he? 91 or something.
Yeah.
And that's the way and he was like, well, that's only going to be sad for you, Lucy. That's not going to be sad for me. And that was his attitude to it. And, we thought, well, it was very sad for her and heartbreaking, everything. But, he loved his old cars and he, went out in a high.
Like you said, it's what keeps him going.
Yeah.
Anyway,
your hair looks really nice, Mary.
Oh, thank you. It's a day and a half on the airplane and 3 naps and I don't even know what later, but wow.
No, it's
looks like you do that more often, especially the napping. Nap hair is the best.
On one side.
Yeah, nap hair is the best.
There might have been a shower in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, shall we get going, ladies? Let's see.
Sounds good.
Astrid.
I was wondering if Dana actually got to go.
Oh, what would have stopped her?
The fire. She said that it has been closed. But
where was she going?
She was going to a place that I was actually going to go for my birthday. A friend of mine took us out there, but or was going to take us out there. It's the tiny village out near a lake
It's a tiny homes resort, Rosalie.
Tiny homes resort.
Like it's a bunch of little tiny, like the tiny homes, that you stay in. Yeah. And it's like a number of tiny homes around a lake, and it's got some kind of, she called it a resort. I don't know what kind of resort facilities it has, but she was looking forward to renting a pontoon boat and floating around on the lake.
But the lake
is an American pastime.
Right. The lake is big,
stargazing
right?
was a big part of her.
Yeah, of course.
And the stargazing, which probably isn't
speaking of tiny houses, can I show you something completely absurd that my darling husband shared with me?
Yes.
And the gardeners among you will appreciate this, but it just made me so happy. This photo.
Oh my God. Wait, is that your guys' house?
No, but it looks no, it's sort of similar in style, but no,
It
it's
does
not.
look similar in style, yeah.
But it's just it
Looks
because
real. I was like, wow, because you guys have done a lot of work to your house. I knew.
yeah,
that.
but no.
That is
Anyway,
hilarious.
That
just made me
I just
so
saw
funny.
on like my local buy nothing, somebody was trying to get rid of zucchinis.
zucchini. Oh,
Yeah,
good
where
luck.
they put in, I can't remember what they put in for scale, but I mean, it was like, what was it, like a hammer or something, and like the zucchini was like twice as big. It was just like ginormous.
Yeah,
It was like free pickup on the porch of, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. People are like, I don't know. I guess big zucchini can be okay. It still tastes good, but man, they're big.
I had a friend whose parents had this big farm outside of Portland, and they did everything organic, blah, 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 whatever. But she would get these things and we would make zucchini steaks and literally, cut it
Wow.
up and make it kind of thick, like if we wanted a T-bone or whatever, but like, we'd make them on the grill and they're really tasty.
Mm. Ooh,
But,
and
I mean,
vegan
just
zucchini.
eating it as a zucchini, not so much, but
Yeah.
No.
Astrid stuffed zucchini sounded good.
Yeah, I may make some zucchini fritters tonight for dinner.
I remember when I was a kid, my mom would make like try to hide the zucchini every night in whatever our dinner was. Ta-da!
Banana bread.
Yeah, exactly.
Courgette bread is lovely though. I mean, zucchini bread. Yeah.
Zucchini bread, yeah.